Sheila Singh, your podcast host, and I'd like to welcome you to the My Brand HQ podcast, all things personal branding for career acceleration. This podcast is for talented, ambitious career professionals like you who are wanting to be perceived as a thought leader, to be top of mind to those that matter, and to make an impact and stand out, be that in your team, your organization, or your industry, and to be inspired by other successful leaders. I will be interviewing high-achieving career professionals who have carved out a successful career in their field and are open to sharing their career journey, their challenges, their learnings and insights with you, someone who is looking to establish your personal brand and accelerate your career. Through my personal branding and coaching practice, I enable career professionals primarily in the technology industry to earn more money, to increase their salary. In fact, I spoke to all of my past clients that I've worked with over several years and learned that actually overall, they've received an average of 47% increase in their package. Would that be a great place to be? They've also all achieved at least one, if not more, promotions or moved on to a higher level in their career at another organization. And they're looking to advance their career while showing up as the best version of themselves. If this sounds like you, then do reach out to me and let's have a chat. And why do I do this? Well, during my corporate career spanning 25 years, I quickly realized that hard work alone was not enough to get me to where I wanted to be and the success that I strive for. And my belief is that hard work, coupled with creating and establishing a strong personal brand, can both influence and accelerate your career and get you to where you want to be. In today's podcast, we'll be speaking to Justyna Roszak. Justyna has gained a wealth of experience over the last 15 years, leading customer and financial services, operations and managing end-to-end financial solutions for the technology industry's largest commercial accounts. During this time, she's led the processes and significant teams of people through several systems integrations, company separations and mergers, as well as strict efficiency plans. Justyna's experience includes global team management, revenue, credit collection, and asset management related processes, global contract management and negotiation, market expansions through consistent service delivery worldwide, and implementation of new offerings. Justyna recognizes the importance of personal growth, having invested in both her Masters Degree and her MBA diploma. And she's passionate about leading the change, transforming operations management for a digital world. And as the head of Women at HPE Poland, Justyna is a strong advocate for promoting women in IT. Today, we're going to hear from Justyna, where she talks about the importance she's placed on having a mentor throughout her career to help her to get to the next level. She also talks about the importance of effective communication in the workplace, and in particular about building a strong network of people around you, people that you can reach out to and lean on for support and help as you progress through your career. Justyna will also share with us today the one thing that she believes exhibits true leadership and why this is important for her, as well as the importance that she places on investing in her own personal growth. Based in Poland and managing teams across 50 plus countries, Justyna also shares with some of the challenges that she has faced throughout her career, including having English as a second language whilst having to deal with a global organization. So let's head over and hear what Justyna has to say. Hi, Justyna. So great to have you here today with us. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you, Lila, very much. Very good, and I'm really happy to be here with you today.
It's lovely to see you. And whereabouts are you? Tell me, where are you based today?
Well, I'm based in Wrocław, Poland.
Okay.
It's beautiful weather outside, as you can see, a little bit shining. So I'm really glad that we could have a beautiful weather behind me today.
Yeah, it's a lovely background there. Okay, so we're going to get going straight away, and I have a few questions that I wanted to ask you today, and just hear a little bit about your career journey, and you can share some of your learnings, your insights, and the challenges that you've been through in your career. So I'd like to start with asking you, did you have a mentor or a role model early on in your career?
Yes, of course, and I'm a strongly believe that everyone needs advice. It doesn't need to be advice only for the job development. It can be for the current task, how to handle a project, right? So, and I believe in 1 year type of mentoring. So you in a 1 year. Why? Because it's shorter. It's you have your goal realization straight away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm typically looking for the person who was there when I want to be. So I can seek out that person to be where I want to be mentor.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessary to be always like this kind of a formal coaching or mentor type of relationship. Simple work shadowing also works to evaluate the career. So I really strongly advise everyone to seek for this type of the relationship, because staying connected is very important.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And I mean, how did you find approaching people to mentor you? Do you find people are quite open to helping?
Well, yes. And the goal is to know people around you in office. So socialize with the people. If you ask them and you will tell them the reasons why you want that person to be your mentor, I can imagine that you will have no.
Yeah. No, definitely. And this for me is very important as well. It's asking for that help, but also building those relationships in the workplace. And so when you started out in the early part of your career, what did you want to be known for?
Well, at the programmatic level, my career mission was always represented by my job descriptions, regardless if I was individual contributor or manager.
Mm-hmm.
But in perspective of the role I was or I am, my direct goal was always to get understanding of what my work is and to understand what I need to do to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you praised this very, very nice, to show up the best version of myself. So I wanted to be known as a professional who do the right thing in the first place.
Right. Very nice. And how have you found that in terms of being able to live up to what you wanted to be known for? Have you found that easy to do?
Well, it's like there are ups and downs. I cannot say that it's flat, right? Or there is always like increasing. So there are some projects which I'm struggling with, and that is seeking for the mentor advice.
Yeah.
And there are the projects which I handle very well, and I was really like could show my professional side.
Mm-hmm. Nice, thank you. And so, what would you say you stand for? What are your 3 core non-negotiable values?
Well, this is really nice that you asked this because for years I lived in a hurry, like work routine, and I really didn't think about the values I based my life on.
Mm-hmm.
And recently I started to rethink about this one. And I could say the values for me are what I need to have in my life to be happy and successful. So one of the things which I put as a top is a well-being both at home, so in professional, in a personal life, in the as well at work, so in the professional life. For years, I used to compromise my work, my home, let's say, over the work, and I put well-being at work as my priority. And right now, I think that what is more important is to keep the balance. You cannot be successful at work when you're not prioritizing your after work life, and opposite, if you only focus on your after work life, you cannot be successful at work. So that needs to be a healthy balance. Work-life balance is a key.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be a well-being. And then another component which I think is really important for me, and it is really related to the personal branding, so keeping my words to myself and to others.
Right.
I believe that the word is all we have. So keeping promises, be honest, be responsive. This is for me the best integrity I can get with others.
So it's almost like integrity with yourself and as well with other people.
Exactly. This is like a personal compass. If you know that, you always will have the right. The right path for your both work, life, let's say, decisions.
Yeah, definitely. I absolutely agree. Okay. Anything else?
Well, and finally, I think is like one of the things which is related with working with people. So it is respect and work ethics. So respect, that's very simply everyone actually deserves respect, right? So I really look for the people who work with me who share the same values. So I want to respect people I lead on, but as well, I respecting that people who are working with me respect me and others.
Right. Yeah.
So from the ethic perspective, work ethics perspective, I think this is really something what is important for me, is that everyone has a voice and should participate in making decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes me a while to stop micromanagement. We have a tendency as a leaders to control, to micromanage all decisions, because we are afraid about the revenues, the results. But the truth is that when you are a leader with the long-lasting experience behind, you can see benefits from not doing micromanagement anymore. And I don't want to do it for my team. And well, I don't want to be treated in that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
I believe if setting the goals, evaluating progress, and celebrating at the end.
Yeah, and I guess that big part of that is building trust with your team both ways, isn't it?
It is, yes, and building the ownership, because I know that there are people who can be frustrated of not having the direct direction of what they need to do. But overall, when they have a problem or they cannot know as to evaluate, they can always seek for the support, right? So this is about being honest, being open, being respectful to others, and then they can evaluate. And coming back, staying connected, mentor relationship, that's a perfect example of how they can evaluate this type of projects as well.
Yeah, thank you. I like that. And so I've got a strong belief that presence is important in the workplace and the way that we show up, because people generally believe that it's about the words and what we say to people. Actually, a big part of our communication is non-verbal, and it's about the physiology, the presence that we have. So would you agree with that? What level of importance would you place on presence in the workplace?
Absolutely. So my strong belief that the present is right now more important than ever. The market situation is really dynamic. We all hear about jobs which will expire within 5 years from now, and the jobs we are not yet even defined. So in that moment, we have to think about ourselves, how we can transform by risking our let's say present in the new world economy. And so we all hear this like agile working, digital skills, everything supplementing AI with the human intention in day-to-day operations, right? So these are all new components for that. So as long as we cannot be sure about what is coming in the next day, the leaders' role is to keep that momentum and to be sure that by captivate our presence, we can make a difference. So we can be a game changer in that.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And so when it comes to communication then, what's your biggest learning about effective communication in the workplace? How can this influence your career success?
Oh, well, it's like my biggest learning. I think that what I learned is that the competence alone is not will not get me when I want to be. We used to have that mindset that we're expecting that our boss or our manager knows everything what we want to. So we know exactly when we're doing a good job, where we are getting beyond our jobs. And what I find out actually that I'm engaging my manager mainly for whenever the problem is, or I'm engaging my manager attention when I need a support in some of the escalations. So in fact, my manager see my job through the challenges I'm getting through, because when I'm doing my job, I'm just doing my job. I'm not engaging really the manager. So and I think I'm not unique in that. Most of us are really tend to think about our managers like kind of a mind readers, that they all know what we want, what is best for us, and how we should develop our career. So the biggest learning was that this is not the good path. If I want to do something, I need to stand up for myself. I need to speak up for myself. So I really need to communicate and captivate my presence. So to build, as you said, the personal branding of myself to show who I am.
And how have you found that? Have you found something that's come naturally to you, or have you had to kind of consciously apply yourself to doing it?
Well, it's challenging, I could say, because it's challenging first of all because these are the new skills which we need to get.
Mm-hmm.
We need to openly say, this is what I want, and not. And for me, I mean, for a long time, I think that if I will say that in a very bold way, I'd be kind of maybe not bossy, but a little bit like full of myself, saying, okay, why do you want that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I wanted that was a challenge for me to speak out for myself, saying, okay, I do the good job, and I want this to be evaluated in the right way for me.
Yeah.
So definitely this is a challenge. And another situation, and I think we will be talking about this later on, is this kind of a self-confidence gap which women usually have.
Mm-hmm.
We are not that good in self-promoting ourselves, especially in terms of when we're doing a good job. It's just we're doing a job, right? I mean, what the deal? So this kind of a marketing side of our achievements it's still a challenge. And I can say from my perspective, I'm really working on this.
No, and I absolutely agree with you. It's so important to speak up, and it was one of the first things I learned in my career earlier on was, I like you said, you mind read, and you almost think, well, they should know that I'm doing a good job and I'm meeting all my deadlines, I'm overachieving. I don't need to tell them, but you're kind of having to help the managers along because they have so much to deal with and to manage. For them to know everything that's going on, as you said, you're just doing your job, right? And so it's important to tell them and to bring to their attention what is going on, and what you are doing, so that they recognize it's not just the problems you're coming with, it's actually, I've achieved this, or I had this great conversation and this was the outcome. So yeah, absolutely agree with you. That's important. And what about, you talked about mentoring and reaching out and connecting with people. So when it comes to building strong relationships around you within the workplace, do you find that's an important part of achieving your success?
It is. It's. I mean, as I said, you phrased this very well in one of your podcasts. Network is your net worth, and with the job securities now, they goes and comes, but network is something what stays with us. So my understanding is that we should network, just to broaden out our people who we know, not only when we are looking for a job. It's just to look for opportunities, gain experience, gain understanding about the market changes, and as well expand our comfort zone to something what we don't know yet, because there is a lot of things which are new, and constant learning is something what is must have if we would like to be on the boat rather than stay behind. So definitely network is something what I really look for, and I believe that having a strong network with the valuable contacts will benefit for us regardless of the situation which we are.
Yeah. And again, I've always been naturally someone who just reaches out and builds relationships with people. And there are people who don't make any effort at all, but then they'll reach out to someone when they need something. And it's important almost to not be that person, but to be the person who's already established the relationships. So when you do need that favor, you do need help with something, whether it's in the job that you're doing, or it's in looking for a job, that you can then reach out to them, but you've already got that relationship, and it's a far easier conversation to have.
Agree. And I would say to everyone, being connected is very important, and don't need to be always being connected through a formal organization. Sometimes within your company you can find out employee resource engagement groups when you can just join in, have a fun, and extend your network. Because developing a network doesn't need to be something boring or very serious. It can be done through the fun activities which are available within the office you are working on, within the group you are living with, because that could be as well the external communities we are engaged to.
Yeah, you make a really good point there actually around the networking, because there seems to be a very negative meaning that people have around networking. And I remember actually when I was still at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, I was in a training, it was like leadership training, I think, and
one of the topics that came up was networking, and there was about 15 of us in the room, and everybody groaned. And
okay.
I was like, oh, okay. And so she started to talk, that the person who was training us started to talk about the networking, and people are like, oh, I hate networking. And so I sort of spoke up and I said, networking is a term that we've given a really sort of negative connotation to, but actually it's just chatting to people, it's just getting to know people and building relationships. And like you just said, you can make it fun. It doesn't have to be a serious business, you know. It's like you said about the employee resource groups, you know, the networks that all, you know, a lot of big organizations have. It's joining them. It's a great opportunity to meet people who are not in your team, who are not in your department. So they may be doing completely different roles to you, but then you get to know people in different parts of the business. You get to understand other parts of the business. So I think it is so invaluable to do that.
Indeed, well, it's like I can say from my personal experience, most of my lasting friends I met through the networking which I did in the beginning. So I mean, the benefit of that is like that we're not only extending our network, but we can extend actually our like friends and colleagues which we are dating on the personal life. So
yeah,
it's really worth to try.
It is. And you know, when there's more formal events where there's networking, again, people cringe, they don't want to go. And for me, I always say to people, because a lot of, again, like you said, women don't have the confidence to speak up or to go and approach people they don't know. So they tend to stick with the people that they do know. And when I've spoken to them, a lot of people say it's because they don't know what to say to a stranger. And my advice there is always take the attention off of you and show an interest, a genuine interest in other people, because that's what people love. Most people like to talk about themselves. So you can show a genuine interest, to ask them about what they do, where they work, you know, where they live, whatever it is. Just start an informal conversation, and at some point, usually, they will say something you can really connect with. It could be that they know somebody that you know, or they've worked somewhere that you've been before, you know. So it's just finding those connections. So networking by far, so important for our.
You actually said a very important thing. Women have a tendency to skip a networking part of any business meetings. So usually we treat this as a kind of a not important part. So really we actually not making our, let's say, personal branding presence there. No one knows that. So then it's like when it comes to make a career progression discussion, we don't know. Our names are not known. Our faces are not known for those who making a decision right on. So it's extremely important to socialize and to be connected, because we never know. I mean, how many of us has this kind of a situation? Oh, we really don't want to go there, and then after all, it's like it was a really really good meeting, event, right? Initiatives which we are part of.
Yeah, and again, another part of this is, you know, people talk about, yes, your network is your net worth, but also it's about who knows you. So it's not only about who you know, it's about who knows about you. So the more people you connect with, the more people know you, the more people will talk about you, because you're showing up with that confidence, you're showing up with that presence. They like you, they remember you, they'll talk about you. So you'll be top of mind, and that's ideally the position we want to be in. So yeah, totally agree with you there. And so just moving on a little bit, I mean, let's talk about leadership. So I'm a big advocate of personal leadership. So focusing, we can all be leaders in our own right, irrespective of the jobs that we do, but it's how we show up as a leader. So what would you say is the one thing that you believe is important for us to exhibit as leadership, as a leadership trait?
Well, I would say set a strong example. We cannot be authentic leader if we behave in one way and we just say another. To our employees. So that's need to be consistent.
So leading by example.
Exactly, leading by example. And this is even more important when we talk about the personal leadership, right? So definitely one of the things which when we talk about the personal leadership, in that one thing is like a set example, be present, be authentic, so then everyone can follow you. Another component of that is like we talk really about management of the others' perception about who we are, what kind of leaders we are, and I think this is another strong component of being the personal leadership present around. because that could be like 2-3 people in the same meeting, and all of them can have a different perception of what actually happened.
Yeah,
This part is extremely important for us to develop, to be sure that we are aware about ourselves. I mean, we are self-aware about our biases, our, let's say, stereotypes we have, so we can really manage our leadership, whatever style we have, right? I mean, there are so many leadership styles in the world, and but one thing which should be in common, it's like to be authentic, to understand our to our biases and what kind of stereotypes we are following to. So to be sure that we have the right understanding about what is going around.
Yeah, and that's really pertinent right now, isn't it? With what's going on around the world. So yes. And so what level of importance do you place on investing in your own personal growth? Is that something you feel is important towards your career success?
Well, it's really important. I think that investment in the personal growth is a key for everyone. We cannot succeed in our career if we will not develop in our, let's say, career growth. And it's like if we take an example, or like we are very much focused on investing in our financial capital, right? This is really important. We talk about this one, and we really like calculate the money we are in. But why don't think about personal growth as an investment in our intellectual capital, right? So if we think about this in that way, then we should have a short-term plan, long-term plan of how we would like to this intellectual capital capitalize it, right, at the end of the day. And that's something that's a mindset what I have. For me, investing in personal growth is like investing in intellectual capital, which is equal like to investing in the financial capital.
Yeah, and I think, and the reason I asked you is because I often find that in my experience, there are a lot of people who want to achieve more success in their career, but they're not prepared to invest in themselves, whether it's the time, the effort, the money to do so. It's a case of, well, if my company won't pay for me, I'm not doing it. And it's an interesting perspective, because when I've challenged that, I said, well, the company's going to benefit. And I can't get my head around it. I've always invested in myself, and clearly you have. And actually it's a case of, well, you're gaining the skills, the knowledge, whatever it is you're investing in, which you take with you wherever you go. So yes, the company will benefit indirectly, but also you're growing personally. And I place a lot of importance on personal growth.
Oh, definitely. That's a great way to build your confidence. And I would say like self-worth, right? So increasing of what you are worth on the marketplace. So definitely that's a direct benefit which we can get from that as well.
Yeah, of course. And so tell me a little bit about, like, you've had a great career so far, phenomenal. And just for our audience, I've worked with you for about, I think it was about 8-9 years. We worked together remotely because you're in Poland, in the UK. But yeah, so we've worked quite closely together as well. And like I said, you had a phenomenal career. You're great at what you do. What would you say are the biggest challenges that you've experienced so far in your career?
Well, I think that I can mark like a top 3. One, from the start, it was the confidence to speak publicly in English. So can you imagine, we talk about being effective in communication, have a self-confidence, build our presence, and try to add to this the language barrier. So we all know semantics matter, right? So if you are not a leader where the English is your mother tongue language, then you need to understand all the constraints which coming with that.
Yeah.
And because for example, for me being a women leader, working for the US company with all my stakeholders and the clients speak English, that's a challenge itself. How to influence, how to get this culture thing behind, which helps you to take that relationship on the upper level, and still having that kind of barrier in head that you have your language limitation, right? I will not be a native speaking English person, not at all. So it was definitely one of the things which I had to grow in my let's say long, let's say, turn of my career. How to be effective and in communicate with clients, with the coworkers, and still not compromising my self-confidence because of my Polish accent. So I hope that I achieve that. I just assume that it's like I'm good enough to communicate and be effective and be professional, and every day I'm learning new things. So that's an ongoing progression, but definitely that was one of the things which I overcome in my career.
What did you do on that? What was it you did to keep speaking up and to get to where you have?
Oh, well, first of all, I said this to my manager in that time, that I need to do something to put myself out of the comfort zone, and I need to practice the public speaking. So she was like, I said, yeah, okay. And she put me on some of the projects when I have to lead the video conference for people with like the whole EMEA people. It was the Voice of the Workforce recognition lead in the time. So that was a challenge. Wow, okay, now how many people will hear me? So I had to just, I have to practice. If you want to overcome your barrier, you just need to make yourself uncomfortable for a while until you become comfortable. So this was like lots of projects which I have to speak, present materials and trainings, which, I mean, I cannot say that I still like public speaking in English, no, but at least I have that comfort that I can do that and not being stressed behind that, that I have to do that. So definitely that comes from the comfort that I practice, learning, practice, reading a lot. So this was like a self-development in that very much involved.
And did you find that you surprised yourself by virtue of being uncomfortable?
Oh, I'm surprising myself today. So yeah, definitely I am. Yeah. So that was one of the components that when I did it, I was like, wow, I did it.
Amazing. And what else? What else is there?
Well, the second thing was the final knowledge. So, well, can you imagine that someone with the Master's Degree in Public Administration can become a leader in the financial service business? I was like, oh my gosh, okay. So I have to start learning, and I put a lot of effort through all my career within HPA to be a part of any accounting or financial trainings. I put myself as well in a mentoring relationship with someone who was pretty much a very finance person. I led at the time a very finance related project on the EMEA level, which consists a lot of finance discussion at the time. Finally, I just signed up for the executive MBA studies, which I graduated successfully, just to say that corporate finance is within my comfort zone. But it's not, it's like when you have a barrier which you need to overcome, it will not come easy, right? You need to put yourself in the mode that you need to have a routine, work hard to get the results. But when you are like signing for that and you know what you want to achieve, short-term goals, long-term goals, then I think that everything is possible.
Wow, amazing. And anything else? Any other challenges?
Well, and I think the very recent challenge, actually, the challenge which I signed up like almost right now, 3 years ago, it was that I took over the global team. So before that, I was a manager who was leading mainly the EMEA region, so one time zone, maybe same culture, similar culture type of people, and where I have to build in the relationship. And then, like 3 years ago, my boss said, okay, you have to develop, you should take something more. So I took over the global team. And as you can imagine, leading the team which is placed in the same office is sometimes a challenge, right? To build a successful team. And right now you have a team which is like they are present in all over the world, different time zones, different locations. So I had to change my mindset as well of how I want to build the team, so to be engaged, stay connected, treat everyone equally, give everyone the chance to show up what they do, and be able to recognize them by what they're doing, not only what I'm seeing as a manager, right? So that was definitely one of the big learnings for me to lead the virtual team. And I'm, let's say, and as well in that time, one of the biggest fear which I have, and I openly shared this with my boss, saying, okay, you want me to lead 51 countries, 4 geos, no one knows how many time zones. within a 4-year-old son, which I just have at that time, how I should work that out. I mean, I cannot work 24 hours a day. I need to manage my work-life balance. And actually, one of the answers which I got at that time was, this is the purpose why you are on. Because that process should work without 24 hours per 7 days working on. It's like you have a team which should support you. And actually, I can say it wasn't easy in the beginning, but right now I can say I have a great team, a team of leaders, and with this great attitude and respect to others, and as well this ownership that for the work we are doing, that right now it really works.
Wow, that's phenomenal. And yeah, having a young child as well and trying to juggle all of that's really, you know, it is a challenge. And I know what it's like. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so my son is 7 right now, and he's saying that his mom is leading the world.
And so right he is. And just on that then, because you talked about micromanaging earlier. So how did you find that now? Because going from a team that was based in the office with you to then going to teams that are remote, how did you deal with that?
Well, so the most challenging part was to build the right structure. The structure meaning by roles and responsibilities. Who should do what are the major responsibilities they should do? Because I think that was the one of the component which is very challenging for the leaders is to, on the one side, we want team to take an ownership, lead the topics, but then we are very much try to be connected, be in the first place. And I noticed that whenever I am on the meetings, which my team members supposed to lead, I am the one who start leading this, because everyone like, oh, Justyna is in, so she can speak. So definitely one of the things with this management of change, let's call it this situation, was that I have to step out. I have to give my employees a freedom to make decisions, sometimes makes a wrong decision, but I mean, that's the part of the learnings, right? We're learning based on, we're learning on mistakes, not on what we are doing good, right? So this was one of the things, like when I look at my calendar at the meetings, I ask myself, okay, what are the meetings which I have to be? And what are the meetings which I don't need to be, because I have a team who can handle this. And that was definitely one of the very first thing which I have to do, and it works.
And it works. Yeah, I like that, because you're empowering people to step up and to take that responsibility. And again, it's the trust as well, building that trust with your team. Fantastic. And so for the audience listening today, what advice would you share with them in terms of your learnings, and for those people wanting to accelerate their career, what advice would you share with them?
So one, be engaged. So ask questions, engage in different projects, and learn. Without that, we won't be able to progress in our career, because that builds our business presence and personal presence, business acumen, everything what is connected to that. The second thing, be open and for the constructive feedback. Very much people tend to have like, oh, that someone is telling them, okay, you did a good job. However, look at 1, 2, 3. Maybe you could think how to make it different in that time. Many people think about this as a criticize. I mean, like that. Okay, someone is like attacking us, and we try to be defensive rather than think, okay, these are actually good advice that we can work on. So, at every stage of my career, for me, the most important part of any discussion which I have with my boss was actually this constructive feedback. Because when the boss saying to me like, oh yes, you did a good job, the good numbers, your team did well, I was like, yeah, okay. And after this session, I didn't get anything for me to work on, right? But when I said, okay, for example, speak slowly, that's one of the things which I usually have. So so that's something what I know that I have to work on, so I can develop as well. If we don't, I mean, we cannot stop developing. We should always, look at the ways which we can improve or enhance our current capabilities, let's call it. So definitely the constructive feedback it's a key to develop and evaluate our career. So as I said, we don't improve because we hear compliments. We improve or we enhance ourselves when we are hearing the complaints, because that's mistakes what we made, right?
Yeah.
So that's definitely, and finally, I would say be bold. So don't afraid to take a risk. Don't afraid to make your voice, build your presence. So then, as you said, it's like they knows you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go beyond what you are doing. Even if this is, even if typically that could be even the beyond your comfort zone. Sign up for the task which you maybe not 100% sure how to do that. You just learn on the job, right? But people, it's a key.
Yeah, I love those. I mean, on the constructive feedback, I remember when I joined HPE, and that's why I first came across the 360 feedback, and I loved it. I would reach out to people that I knew we'd had challenges working, because then, I was working with so many different parts of the business, but I would go and I'd ask so many people because I wanted to learn, I wanted to grow, and I wanted to know where I'm not meeting others' expectations or, delivering to my highest level. And I know there were people around me who hated it. They didn't want to have to participate in it. And I said, well, it's feedback, it's constructive feedback. And it's also, again, when we talk about personal branding, it's others' perceptions of you, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes we are not even know that something is not working for others. I mean, we had, a lot of discussion, right, together when we had the pleasure to work together, each other, because, your perception which you get from the customers was a different one which I had when running operations, and only when we work together we can make a positive change. Otherwise, we were like, okay, making a silos. This is me, this is you, and nothing will work for the customer at the end of the day. So it's extremely important to hear feedback from, like what you mentioned, 365 it's really good to have that feedback, to ask actively for that. And I think this is something what we are not doing very often. Even if we have even great tools and the companies is giving us a possibility to ask that feedback, I can see that people do not like it. I don't know why, but I think that's one of the most powerful tools to evaluate yourself and to just define the way how to grow, right? So what are our strong and weak points where we need to address our actions for the next couple of weeks, months, years, whoever. But that's definitely important part.
Yeah. And also you mentioned being bold and speaking up. And I think sometimes people are scared to speak up because they worry about what other people will think if they see them speaking up.
Oh yeah.
Right. And actually you kind of, and it's easy to say and difficult to do, but it's almost something you have to do if you want to move up the career ladder, if you want to, grow personally, professionally in your career. People need to hear what you're about, what you're doing. You need to make your voice heard. There may be people who will be like, they've got a big mouth, they talk too much, arrogant, whatever. Because I often read where women say that if a man does this, it's perceived one way. If a woman does it, it's perceived a different way. And yes, that is true. But again, it's people's perceptions, right? But there will be people who recognize the positive of what you're doing. Not everybody is that way inclined, that, men are great and women like that, put them down there or anything like that. It is truly down to individuals' perceptions. So it's a case of, well, are you going to keep quiet because you fear what everyone's going to think and fear of other people's judgment? Or are you going to speak up? Are you going to ask for what you want and see what happens? I've always lived by, well, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. People can say no, but at least you've asked, right? And then you get to decide what to do with that.
Yes, I agree. Definitely. So this is one of the things which we can advance our career, is to just ask for what you want. Otherwise, no one really knows about this one, and no one really cares, right? Why someone else should care more about what we want than we? So that's something that is like one of the key components to that. We need to step out, be bold, speak for ourselves. And I can tell you from my personal experience, as a woman, we always have a tendency to be prepared 150%. Not like even, not 100%. We want to be like a 150% prepared for. And I remember I had one important meeting, which was very dominated by my male in the time. So I was preparing myself, spending hours to be sure that I know any aspect of the discussion which took place on that meeting. And when I went out on that meeting, it turned out that I was the only one who actually really knows what was all about. The rest was like knowing about 70%, 60-70%, and then it was they were developing the knowledge during the discussion, during the conversation. So that's something what we need to think about as well. We don't need to always be like a 100% prepared.
Yeah.
We are allowed to not know. That's a part of our job. We need to know the core and just go and just listen, because we can develop during the situation happened, right? So
yeah.
So that's something what this part of the self-confidence, building the confidence, speaking out, be bold, go out of the comfort zone if needed. Why not?
Yeah.
Everyone else in the world is doing.
Yeah, and the thing is that I've learned this as well. If we don't do it ourselves, no one else cares, and we're the ones who are going to miss out. Yeah. And there was I've forgotten now the specifics around it, but it was actually Hewlett Packard that did a study some years back, research on men and women applying for jobs, and they said, men only need to, I think it was like 40% of the job spec to apply, and women needed to feel they had 100% of it before they'd apply. And my immediate thought was, well, why would you apply for a job that 100%? Because where's the growth? Unless you, it's okay if it's somebody who wants to just do a job that they can do with their eyes closed, that's okay. However, if you are someone who wants to grow your career, you always need to be stretching yourself and learning and growing. And therefore, by stepping out of your comfort zone, as you mentioned, that's where you see the growth. I can vouch for that. You can vouch for that in terms of the work that we've done, the jobs that we've had. I started jobs where when I joined Hewlett Packard Enterprise, I had no idea what, I'd never done this work before, corporate finance. I hadn't a clue. And even then going to be a sales exec, I hadn't really done anything like that I was expected to do in the role, but I figured it out. I go and I ask for help, and people like to help. I think many people worry about, well, what will people think if I ask for help, because I should know everything already. And for me, it's like, people can think what they like. I'm here to learn, I'm here to grow, and if I need to ask for help, I will ask for help.
Yeah, definitely. We need to be bold whenever we are applying for a job. We don't need to be 100% compliant, because then it's nothing for us, right? It's always should be this component what we don't know, so we can evaluate and we can learn. And I can tell you, actually, I can share this. I never taught anyone to that or this one. When I was applying for HP, it was the VAT reporting team in the time. And one of the requirements was the advanced knowledge of Excel. In that time, I was using Excel mainly in the schools on some but I opened Excel a couple of times, but definitely it was no advanced knowledge. And I said, yeah, I know. And you know what? It took me less than 2 weeks to get to the level of knowledge of Excel which I need to have to perform the job. So it means that we don't need to be 100%.
Yeah, and also I love about that is the fact you're determined. You're a determined person, so you'll go and you'll figure it out. Not everyone has exactly. That. Some people say, well, if I don't know, I don't want to learn anything else, or I'm not interested, I'm not going to push myself. So it's your attitude as well that makes a difference.
Oh yeah.
And so what would you say in all of this? You talked about your challenges and you shared some advice. What is your biggest life lesson that you'd like to share with the audience today?
Well, so definitely, if we would like to advance our career, we need to just ask for what we want. That's beginning and the end. Only if we don't tell people what we want, we cannot expect that people will know what we want. Yeah. And then nothing will change for us.
Yeah, love that. Ask for what you want, speak up. And so just focusing a little bit on the technology industry itself, because you spent several years in it, and obviously you're part of the Women at HP network in Poland, so you're leading that. Why would you say we're struggling to attract more women into the technology industry?
So I can say that I have a luck to work in an office where actually the 70% of the employees are women. And what is more interesting is like a 62 right now, managerial positions are taken by the women. So I have a really unique opportunity to have a really nice work environment. But if we look at the STEAM-related jobs and the industry itself, the statistics definitely can raise the questions of what is going on, right? And I think there are three very much common reasons why we are in the situation in which we are today. One is this, what we already talked about, the glass ceiling, which means that there is really no proper career development plan for women in the technology industry, especially if we talk about the managerial levels. And I think this is a very much common thing for everyone. And we're saying that a technology leaders group are actually the boys' club. Everyone's heard that expression. Why? Because we can see really that women are attractive for technology, let's say, industry at the entry level, but not necessarily will go up in specialist and expert level. You can see that the percentage is much lower. So I think that's one of the, if I be a woman and we look for the company I would like to be hired for, I definitely would like to know that I have an opportunity to grow there. So the second thing is like the main stereotype about women itself, and as well the women's self-confidence about, how they perform in the technology type of solutions. So you mentioned this shocking statistic about women do not apply for the positions which they are not 100% compliant in the competencies which are listed there. And the same, from the main perspective, I heard about 60% males applies for the CVs, even if they do not meet the requirements. But what I'm thinking is another problem which can be as well for women is like how the job description are written, right? So the wording, how they are presented. It's in most of the cases, everything is required, everything should be. Everything is must have, right? So we don't really showing the opportunities for women to have this kind of must have skills, and then what are the nice to have skills which they can develop, because that will show us where is our potential opportunities for learning something new. So that's another aspect which I'm seeing about this what creating this confidence gap, basically speaking. And finally, I think, which is more, quite important for me, and I will explain this in a minute, it's lack of online presence. I'm thinking that the poor online presence is as bad as the present at all. And I'm saying this very strong because the self-promotion of women's, especially in the social media, it's very poor. We are not really particularly good at this. And most of the women which I talk about, they just don't want to wasting the time. Some of them saying about the privacy, that, I don't want to sharing that concept. There are so many excuses we all hear about this one. But the fact is that our online presence is like our personal present. This is, everything is there. So it's very crucial that we should make our voice. And as well, I think that our present is very much connected about how we appear, especially at work. I don't know, you probably heard this many times as I do, like whenever I'm raising my voice, it's you are bossy, you are arrogant, it's like when the male leader is raising the voice and getting angry on the call, it's a tough leader, right? But when you will see the women who is like getting angry on the call and trying to set a strong statement, it's usually either the getting emotional, it's a bad manager, and this kind of thing. So, we not even perceive two leaders who behave exactly in the same situation, the same way, but we don't perceive them we don't perceive that leadership, in the same way, like the judgments are different. So that's the kind of components which are very much linked into what I'm thinking about lack of, I would say, not only online present at all, women overall. And I think this personal branding, which you have in your unique blueprint, it's so important, because it's actually giving exactly the direction of how we should change in order to make a change in our let's say in our position in business in our business present. So saying that, you mentioned about this woman and HP Poland. So together with the wonderful girls, which and ladies, actually, I should say, with my Polish office, we actually developed like 3 strong programs which should somehow address these barriers or advance this career, the careers of our women. So one of the program which we call is like a Woman in Power. So in this program, we are very much to focus on empowering our women to be bold to step out. Mm-hmm. As well to promote HP culture in terms of how our HP women leaders are let's say presenting within as a first of all successful businesswoman, but as well as a successful parent, because we find it out that for women this aspects of life is equally important as being. Yeah. So that's one of the things which we are working on, that we call it like a positive parenting. Mm-hmm. And as well, in this program, we very much focusing on the peer-to-peer relationships. So we actually calling out our senior women leaders to step out and to help by having open sessions, discussions to help our other, let's say, our women's other colleagues to evaluate our career at the higher leadership level. So that's a great sessions which we have fantastic people who could be part of it. By the way, you had the pleasure to have one of the session under the Woman in Power as well. So
I did indeed.
Another program which we launched, it was Women in Tech. So it's not, we are not necessarily very much focusing on how to attract women within to tech industry, but rather when we have women in the tech industry, how we can help them advance both digital transformation knowledge, technological knowledge, so they can build this what I call like a digital confidence. So they can use the tools, they can use the knowledge which they gain about the new technology. So really upskilling themselves. So to be really vocal whenever we are let's say at the industry level, we have a conversation around the technology. So that's something what it's very close to my heart. And in this area, we very much as well focusing on the social presence. By using the social media, let's say tools, technologies which can be used by women. Mm-hmm. Finally, I would say that very much within that group, networking and well-being is a core, right? So we are very much focusing on to collaborate with any, let's say, influencing stakeholders which can help to build a women presence, both internally with different engagement groups within our company, but as well externally with external organization which support women, and as well like local governance. So I really enjoy that part as well, because we're building presence outside of the office, not only being in the office, and that's helped somehow to attract women in the technology as well.
Wow. Very active in terms of what you're doing within the network, by the sounds of it. That's great. It's nice to hear that you're doing so much there to attract more women and to help them to grow and to develop as well within the business. Mm-hmm. That's phenomenal. Well, thank you, Justyna. It's been great speaking to you today. I know how busy you are, so I really appreciate you taking some time out to speak with me and to share your insights, your learnings with the audience, and definitely you will have inspired many people, I believe, in terms of what you've talked about today.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, I'll speak to you soon, Justyna. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do subscribe to the show so you don't miss any future episodes. And remember to leave a review telling us about your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on the importance of personal branding when it comes to your career advancement. And also ensure that others can benefit from these invaluable insights from many inspirational leaders. I will be eternally grateful. And if you are looking to earn more money, to get promoted, to secure your next role and advance your career, and would like me to support you personally on that journey to get you there, then reach out to me and let's arrange a chat. Alternatively, why don't you check out my personal branding launchpad, a group training and mentoring program. Finally, if you'd like to connect with me directly, then do reach out and direct message me on LinkedIn. You can find the link as well as any other resources mentioned in the show notes. I'll see you next time.